So now we're 1 week into Lent, which is the time of year when we all prepare for Easter. And the passage that I want to talk about today is from Luke 13, which begins to hint at the danger that Jesus is in. So Luke 13:31 to 35. At that time, some Pharisees came to Jesus and said to him, "Leave this place and go somewhere else. Herod wants to kill you." He replied, "Go tell that fox, I will drive out demons and heal people today and tomorrow, and on the third day I will reach my goal. In any case, I must keep going today and tomorrow and the next day, for surely no prophet can die outside Jerusalem. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those sent to you. How often I have longed to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings. But you were not willing. Look, your house is left to you desolate. I tell you, you will not see me again until you say, 'Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord.'" Well, as occurs frequently on this journey that we're on with Jesus and Luke, Jesus surprises us. He gets a warning that Herod, the king, wants to kill him, and he kind of brushes it off. This is Herod Antipas. It's one of Herod the Great's sons. Herod the Great was the Herod that was alive when Jesus was born and killed all the two-year-old kids, boys, 2-year-old and under, in order to prevent Jesus from becoming king. Well, now this new Herod wants to kill Jesus as well. Since this Herod ruled over Galilee and Perea, east of the Jordan, this event probably takes place in Galilee, where Jesus did most of his ministry. And remember that this is the Herod who had John the Baptist beheaded, so it's probably not an empty threat. But Jesus doesn't fear Herod. He tells the Pharisees who warn him, "Tell that fox, I will drive out demons and heal people today and tomorrow, and on the third day I will reach my goal." In our culture, we think of foxes as sly and deceptive. However, in biblical context, the fox is usually considered inconsequential. Remember how last week we talked about this. Jesus said, "Foxes have dens, birds have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." And he also talked about, in other places, how sparrows are fairly inconsequential, but God still cares about them. Well, foxes are inconsequential too. Foxes have dens, birds have nests, Son of Man has no place to lay his head. So he was basically saying that Herod doesn't matter in the big scheme of things. Tell that empty suit that I'm going to continue to heal and cast out demons and until I reach my goal. What is important, not Herod, but what is important is that Jesus continued to work toward his goal. And we know now that Jesus' goal was to take all the sins of the world upon himself and die on the cross. And that would happen in God's perfect time, not before, not too late. And anyway, he said, surely no prophet can die outside of Jerusalem. Well, ouch. I mean, Jerusalem was supposed to be the holy city, and yet it was kind of famous for killing prophets. Not every prophet died in Jerusalem. He was exaggerating, but only a little. Herod may have been a threat to him, Jesus says, but his real opponents were those Jews who pretended to serve God and who killed the prophets, who would call them on their hypocrisy. So even though Jesus is eventually headed toward death, he knows that the tragedy isn't his, it's Israel's. "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem," he says. It breaks his heart. The city's life story is all about killing prophets. It's pretty much always rejected God and God's will. Jesus wants to love and protect his people, but he says, you were not willing. Israel has consistently rejected God's gentle care. as have we all. Then he says, your house is left to you desolate. The house is the temple, or perhaps it means the city of Jerusalem. And Jesus is no doubt speaking of the destruction of the temple that happens in 70 AD. Jesus won't be seen there until Jerusalem says, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, and recognizes him as God's Messiah. So I think looking at this brief exchange between these Pharisees and Jesus, we can see that Jesus knew exactly what was going to happen, what his situation was, the political ramifications, what could keep him from doing his mission and what couldn't. He knew that what was all coming together at that point, and that he really was the focal point of everything. The most important event in all of history was coming up, and really only Jesus understood it. So in this time of Lent and preparation for Easter, I hope that you realize what a humongous deal the crucifixion and the resurrection were and are, and that you are preparing your heart for that moment. Amen.